Thank you. So, we are now entering into the last and the final part of this dialogue. I will first ask the rapporteur, Jean-François Lecomte, from the French Institute of Radiation Protection and Safety, to summarize what has been said, to try to summarize, because there are so many things said today, but to give an overview about what has been said today. So, you have a microphone? Okay. This is your turn, Jean-François.
Thank you, Jack. I prefer to stay here if you agree. Many things was said this afternoon, this day, the second day, and in the summary, I would like to start recalling the three key positions for people today in Minami-Zoma. Those who still stay in Minami-Zoma, we never go out. Those who leave because they were evacuated, and those who evacuated who return to Minami-Zoma. Why? Some have no choice because they lost their home after the tsunami, because of the radiation. Another reason could be the wishing to protect children, notably to stay close to the hospital. Also the issue of job, to keep our previous job or to take into account the new opportunity with a job related to the construction, and also the personal preferences. Somebody said, I prefer my house in Minami-Zoma rather than an apartment in Hokkaido. It was said to Suzuki. We wanted to come back to spend the rest of our life in our home. Somebody said, now I enjoy my life back in Minami-Zoma. Also, we may have some uncertainties about the future. And globally, all the people who make testimonies said that now they feel more positive now to make their choice. Then, having said that, many things was expressed showing that key point should be taken into account in order to recover the situation. Somebody said that many people would like to see Minami-Zoma like before the accident, but it is no more possible. It is ideal, but no more possible. And we have to work together in order to build a new Minami-Zoma. Knowing that Minami-Zoma is a particular place coming from 3 different towns, and it is rather isolated. The picture today is that the aging rate is going up, and many young people stay now outside. Somebody said, we heard no more noise from children's voice. It's a pity. It's difficult to take care of elderly people. And a way to improve would be that the government should come here to see what happens. Because there are many divisions, because many people insisted about that. A key factor for the division is the point of compensation. Of course, there is still anxiety with radiation. But about the health aspect, also the anxiety with radiation, the whole body counter show now that internal contamination is close to zero. Of course, there are still a few cases of internal dose due to food, mushrooms, some vegetables. There is also the issue of chronic diseases, the growing weight of children, blood pressure, etc. Many mothers are still concerned about their children. But beyond radiation, the key point is pride of dignity of people, the issue of isolation, especially for elderly people who feel less secure and less safe. About the issue, continue about the issue of health. It was said, it was mentioned the lack of nurses in Minamisoma, the need to have a hospital facility close to the place where people are living. The issue of mental health, it was said that we need resilience. The problem of mental is due to fear of radiation, but also to loss of homes, to loss of friends, the family separated, and also the issue of financial resources and compensation. The solidarity is very important to recover. We need to reconstruct a human network to allow to the recovery of improve resilience. And we need to build new relationships. We have to help children to learn by experience. They will have to play a crucial role in rebuilding the society. Then it's important to devote some effort for their benefit. This is a long process and we need to develop their capacities. More generally, the voice of citizens has to be heard in a more, with more emphasis. Yes, the one thing is to listen to the voice of the people, and it's important that some persons could play the role of bridge between different people, bridge between the resident and the expert, bridge with the authorities. It's important to recreate links between people. It is the key condition to recover a sustainable future. Another thing is that the legal framework should also be improved. We have also to move from the traditional culture in Japan to go beyond, to take into account the new situation, and to deal with the new problems. People have to share the fact, to share the words, to share the information. There are already some initiatives in that sense, and they are successful. Even so, community building are still in difficulties. Some projects, experimental projects, are already put in place and are in perspective. For example, the case of the new facility for children, the new indoor facility for children, which is welcome by the parent. We have also example of persons having recreated new social activities and relationships, and also new conditions to make physical exercise, which is very important. In terms of, I mentioned the involvement of the new of children in the new development. There are initiatives in that sense, notably through their involvement in the new agriculture with solar energy and experience in that field. and using local brain in order to find local solutions. The agriculture, there are also an initiative about agriculture because it is a key point in this region. In南相馬, the vegetables produced locally are not consumed, and it's a problem to be solved. We have to create new jobs for the future. We know that most of the jobs for our children are not known today, and we have to find out to discover them together with the young people. We have to reconstruct a new industry. I took some notes and it was difficult to make a choice. I mentioned the new generation, but it is also important to involve the old generation. The senior group of people need to help themselves, the younger generation. They have to be involved in that. And I can stop here. Yes, probably I forgot a lot of things, and please apologies, but I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean-François. It's a nice image to stop with the point that the old generation should help and work with the young generation. It's a nice image to finish your summary. It was. Thank you very much. I think you have catch the key messages of the day. Thank you, and I take the opportunity of your report to thank you once again, and Thierry for the report of yesterday. These two reports will be extremely useful to prepare the conclusions and recommendations that we will prepare as in the past. Okay, so now we can devote maybe until 5, if there are many questions and many points. We have time for discussing together broadly, taking into account what has been said today, but also yesterday. We can come back maybe on the experience of Norway, if necessary. So, who would like to either raise a question to someone, or raise a point, or make a comment? Or who would like to express some complementary elements? Yes?
I just wanted to add...
microphone, please.
Just before I forgot, I would like to add 2 more comments as key points. There was an issue about waste storage in Suyatsugi, as you remember. So people have to deal with themselves, or they are seeking for help from the authorities or others. And the second point also, it was someone from Kyushu University. Yeah, she also was saying about peace building and conflict resolution. So this, I think this is important also to include in the summary.
Thank you. Any other elements? Either to complete today's report or also to go further in some. Yes? Professor Mitsuno.
メディアの役割のことなんですけれども、報道ということで、先ほどテレビ福島の森さんがおっしゃったことで、僕は共感したので、強調したいのですが、特にその福島県以外の外の人にとってみると、どんどん報道が減っていき、報道があるとすると、問題があることだけなので、学生さんに出てもですね、3年経ってもいまだに全く状況を理解してない、僕自身もその来て初めて分かるという状況が続いています。それを何とかしなければいけないと、常々思ってきたんですが、そのメディアの方の姿勢として、そのあるニュースがあったとしても、その背景となるやはり知識なり解説なりというのをやっぱりきちっとやるっていう基本、これをやはり感じ続けていただくことが、その周り、その周辺といいますか、非当事者の人たちの、認識とか理解とかを深めていく上で、やはり重要なことで、そのことはきっちり指摘されたことは、僕は強調したいと思います。
Thank you. Yes, please.
実は仕事の都合で4時半で退出しなければいけないんですけど、私は分断や対立が指摘されたのですけれども、それを抱えながら分断や対立や不安や恐怖が解決しないままずっと生きていくことで、それをいかにうまくやっていくかということが大切かと思いました。でそれにあたって自信であるとか誇りであるということが大事であると思うのは、これ心理学的には分担があって、自分ではない立場の人が優れていると感じたときに、これが傷ついているときには妬みの感情が強くなってしまう。そうすると妬みがあると協調は難しくなります。お互いに傷つけ合うということが出てきます。ただ本当に自信や誇りがある中であれば、分断や対立があっても他の人が優れていると思ったときに、その時に出てくる感情は憧れだったり感謝だったり、そういうような形でここでの問題というのはそう簡単に解決しませんし、分断や対立は人があるときには必ずあるんですけども、そういうものを持ちながら何年も生きていくという中で、本当に私たち誇りや自信を回復して、他の優れた人を妬んだり壊したりしてしまうのではなく、違いを持ちながら尊敬しつつ、対立や葛藤を抱えながら前に進むっていう作法が本当に求められているのではないかなと、こんなふうに思っています。最後に言いたいんですけど、5時から病院で到着します。失礼しました。ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. To give you a last thought before to go, I think that Professor Miyakawa wanted to say something about education. Would you like to do that? You know?
ありがとうございます。ロシャールさん、宮川と申します。小中学校の放射線教育の支援活動をずっと続けています。メッセージの中に教育っていうキーワードをこの2日間のダイアログの中から取り入れていただきたいということをお願いしたいと思います。ちょっと今日ここにご出席されてないので恐縮ですけども、京都に避難されている伊藤さん、女性の伊藤さんがダイアログの場で子どもたちとこれから一緒に学んでいく、それが必要だと、私は無知だったということを昨日述べられました。子どもたちと一緒に学んでいく、放射線のことですね。そういった視点、それから今日、施設の遠藤さんがおっしゃいました。 一生懸命頑張ってきたんだけども、振り返ってみたらこの頑張りは私の子供に教えられた。そのことも含めて大人の人たちが子供から学んだということを今日メッセージを寄せてくださいました。この2つの言葉っていうのは私が聞いている、視点からするととても重要に受け止められましたので、ぜひメッセージの中に教育の重要性ということで取り組んでいただけたらありがたいと思います。以上です。
Thank you. Yes, François.
Yes, François Randeger from IRSN France. It's the seventh time I go to attend this type of meeting, but it's always the same emotion. It's always the same emotion by hearing you, by realizing how hard times you are facing, and I am every time impressed by your strength, by your energy, by your willingness to fight the situation. I will be in France Tuesday, and I have a lot to think about. I have a lot to share with my colleagues, experts. Can we prepare ourselves to be a better resource, to be better available to hear the concern of the people if such an event happens in France. France has more than 15 nuclear power weapons, and you have to think very much about that. I have a lot to think, to learn, to share as an expert, but also I have a lot to think about you human people, Japanese people, of your humanity, and thank you again for having us.
Thank you, François. Any other points? Maybe I will turn to the Norwegian colleagues, because today you have been extremely silent. You have been listening attentively, and I'd like to have some of your feelings after this, coming at the end of this dialogue. Who would like to say a few words?
First of all, I would say thank you for having this experience with you. I learned a lot today, and I think I understand a lot more of what you're going through. And I hope the rest of Japan also soon learn really what you're going through. Because the lack of contact and understanding between people, it's not easy to build a new future if some groups are looking down on others who are really not deserve another burden with not having the support. I can understand that people who have not been have this accident not understand those who haven't, who have been in this area in南相馬area around, and I can understand that they don't understand you, but I can't understand why they don't support you. because in Norway we support the people who are in trouble. So I hope you start a process to get a better communication, so you better understand and the other people understand what you really have to go through and understand what you have to do to act to go further to build your new society. Thank you.
Thank you. Another comment from our Norwegian friends?
Some comments from me. I'm very glad that I have been here these 2 days. It's a big experience. This has been my first dialogue, and we have learned very much. We were here trying to support you, but I think you in these 2 days have supported us with lots of knowledge, lots of your feelings about this terrible situation. And for us, working with emergency preparedness, we have very much to learn. Our work with emergency preparedness in Norway are very based on the experience from the Chernobyl accident. That is almost 30 years ago, and the world has changed very much since then. And but of course we have developed tools, we have developed ways of doing things to support the locals in Norway that were suffered from the Chernobyl accident. And we are still doing things today about whole body counting and measuring animals, taking care of control of food produced in the affected areas. But I think we managed, but if we are looking into the future, and we all should have a good emergency preparedness if something happens. You say you have lots of power plants in France, the world are full of nuclear power plants. So we have to be prepared, and in this preparedness work that we are working with, we have learned very much from these 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Tamara?
Yeah, Tamara Zhunusova, Regional Radiation Protection Authority. Finally, I introduced myself. So I just would like to say that I was here on the day of earthquake 3 years ago. So since that time, I'm following all the news and everything concerned Fukushima and its people. So I have participated at the first dialogue seminar, and now it's 8. So I can see some difference, some progress in feelings of people. It's getting more positive. People are doing something by themselves, so they are doing a lot of efforts. So this is my feeling, and of course I wish, as I said yesterday, I wish Fukushima people happy ending like in Norway. Thank you.
Well, there is like a flavor of we are coming close to the end. So I think if there is no real urgent, this is the last call. Then we close the door. Oh, Mrs. Takamura.
すみません、高村です。先ほどちょっと棚卸しをしないと喋れないということで少しお時間いただきましたので、感想というか、私自身子供を抱えてここにおります。安全か危険かという二極化の中で私はその真ん中を行きたいなと。というのはやっぱりわからないことはわからない。だから防護しなければいけない。それをやっぱり真ん中のスタンスでずっといきたい。 ただ子どもを守らなければいけないということは、子どもを抱え込むように全てのものからこう守るというのはまた違うんじゃないかなというのもですね、今の日本の問題って子どもの教育についてなんですけれども、親御さんがどうしても子どもの目の前に子どもの前に道があったら、例えば危険な石とか血の枝とか取り除こうとするんですよね。まっすぐな道を歩かせたいわけですよ。ところがですね、子どもは痛いとかそういった怪我をしたりとか、そういった身をなんていうんですか、こう体験をすることによって自分を守ることができる。であれば、私は親として例えば石があったとしても、その石につまずいて自分が起き上がって、そしてその怪我を自分が治せるような子どもが持っている力を引き出せる親になりたい。でそれをここで実践して、なんて言うんでしょうか、新しい生き方としてこうみんなと一緒に学んでいきたい。でそれは亡くなった高橋恭平先生という総平君のお父様なんですが、遺言のように私の中にあります。あなた子供が持っている力は素晴らしいんだよと、それを信じないとね。ですから子供が持っている力を引き出すことは、家庭から親から、そして地域の皆様から理解をしていただいて必要なことなんだと、本当に今日皆様のお話を聞いてしみじみと思いました。ありがとうございました。
Thank you for your this point. I think this is a very important also lessons that we learned working many years in Chernobyl area. I mean, children are resilient. Children feel everything about the emotions of their parents, and parents think that they protect their children by just trying to hide the reality, but in fact they can be faced to this reality, and I think this is very important because this is the future. I think it's a very positive attitude. Okay, to be prudent with the situation because there are many uncertainties, but at the same time allow children to live and not to survive. That's a very important point, I think. Well, now I will turn to the closing of this. Oh, there is a last one. Okay, anyone who would like to say something is welcome, but please.
私はね、農業のことで一つお願いしたいと思っています。私は戦災の土地に有機栽培をやっている安川ですが、12年、13年かね、の土地に、郡山の農業センターにおいて、私が今の有機農業でやらないと除草剤だ、化学肥料や化学資材を使ってやると、これは放射能よりもまたひどいということを言いながら続けて今年で4年目を迎えます。その成果は広島の先生に毎回来てもらって、やってもらったのが、大丈夫であったということです。一番先は乳幼児では授けないというような米のあれでやったんですが、その24年の年の時は袋検査をしました。その時は50以下でした。これは完全に良かったです。ところが去年は水が不足で米が取れなかったと。 間切りを、それは25にしていました。これちょっとそれような研究をやっているのは、誘致推進法という法律が日本ではできて、その法律をわからないのか知らないと、行政はそれを嫌がっていたようです。それから農協はね、それは面倒くさいからやらないというと、私は知った時は、養育込みを作って、子どもたちの学校給食に向けようということをやってきたんだが、それも達成できずに今までいるわけですから、世界の平和をするには、健康で、そして仲良く平和を守ることを目的にするようなのは、そこから出ないとダメだと私は考えています。以上です。
So now this is we enter into the closing part of the dialogue. And this is now a tradition that we ask our colleague Ted Lasso from the OECD.
Jack, thank you very much. I'd like to echo a little bit what was just said. I think there was a discussion about children being the future. And I think the gentleman who just spoke is far from being a child, but he's the future too. I think you're all the future. I think that's something that's very important. It's a message that's come out to me. Everyone is doing things. I'm planning to be here tomorrow. So for me, I'm the future, at least until tomorrow. I think you're the future for quite some time, so I wish you luck. But what I want to talk about is elements of a successful recovery that I think have emerged from this discussion. Themes from the 8 dialogue seminars that I've seen. And I believe that there are a lot of commonalities that are more or less emphasized, but all present in all of these dialogues. First of all, why is my committee on radiation protection and public health interested in this? Unfortunately, the experience in Japan is unique. Well, fortunately, it's unique, but accidents can happen anywhere. And so the rest of the world really wants to learn from your experience, extract the pain and suffering and progress you're going through, so that if this happens somewhere else, we can be better prepared, as was mentioned by our Norwegian colleagues just a minute ago. So we'd like to draw as many lessons from that as we can. And it seems as many of the concerns, the issues, and the conclusions are similar to those from previous dialogues and have a universal nature. So would not be applicable just here in Japan, but would also be important and useful for the rest of the world. So that's why we're interested. So what came out of this and these other dialogues, from my standpoint, is that complexity builds difficulties. This issue is extremely complex, from the personal, from the community, from the social, from the governmental, from the physical, from the chemical, from every aspect. It's extremely complex. And the situation has resulted in a lot of divisions. Physical divisions, there are 4 zones in separate towns. Psychological divisions, damages, compensation, information, things are different in many places. Social differences, discrimination, and integration. All of these are developed and built through the accident and the results. Social discrimination is both a fear, no one wants it, they're afraid of it, but it's a reality and needs to be overcome. Most dialogue participants want to go home or to stay at home, but some will go home and some will go home and stay at home, some will come back or leave. The decisions are individual. Everyone has to make up their own mind on what they're going to do. And as we just said, children play a key consideration and a driver in making those decisions. So all that is very important, but these are the difficulties that are built in by the complexity. There's a lack of trust and there's a lack of confidence. There's a significant lack of trust in central government, prefecture government, and experts. And this is added to by the uncertainty in radiation protection knowledge of health effects and low dosage. And that makes, because the experts are not so sure, it contributes to a lack of trust. The information is hard to find and is generally not well organized to address your concern. So again, that adds to the lack of trust. The measurement of data from the same location can be significantly different from week to week, from year to year. Some of that is physical, some of it is a concern that because the dose rate data is used for zoning and compensation, perhaps people are using the wrong end of the detector to make a measurement and write a reading down for their own for the benefit of the government or the benefit of someone else. So all this builds on a lack of trust and confidence. The evacuation has destroyed the community spirit. That's something that came out very clearly in these discussions. It's difficult to rebuild a community spirit in a refugee community. A lot of the evacuees feel like refugees. They're discriminated against in their new environments. It's now 3 years later, fortunately, we've heard from people who are beginning to integrate into their environment, their new environment, and begin happy lives that are new. But it's not always the case. And certainly moving into a new environment, rebuilding personal relationships and communications has to start from zero, and it's very difficult. But the community spirit and a supportive group are key aspects to rebuild the certainty that personal decisions are correct. We've heard that several times. People are wrestling with a very uncertain circumstance, and they're trying to make the best decision they can for themselves and their family. And to be able to talk with friends and colleagues and neighbors about what they're thinking and what they're doing, and get other people's opinions, support or not your opinion, helps people's minds come to terms with their decision. But it seems as though, you said, there's nowhere to share thoughts and build trusted friendships in this ribbed social structure. So that's something that needs to be built upon. And I think meetings like this and the ethos in Fukushima and all the other NPOs that are building up are trying to fill that gap. And I think successfully we're seeing. So yesterday we talked about a shared vision for the future. And there was there was no shared vision that emerged, even today to a certain extent. There were a lot of things that people said they didn't want. But I'm an optimist. And so I think defining what you don't want, what you do not think is correct, also defines what you do think is correct. And so social discrimination was an issue. The shared vision of the future is that you would like that there would be no social discrimination. It's hard to build, but that's what you said you did not want, so therefore that must be part of the vision for the future. There's no forum for community dialogue. You would like to have a forum for community dialogue, so that's part of your vision of the future. The situation is extremely divided. You'd like a unified situation. Data cannot be found or trusted. You'd like available and trusted data. This is kind of the way you'd like the future to be. Getting from here to there, I think you're working on it, but it's a shared vision for the future. Low dose effects are very uncertain. You would like a better, clear language understanding of low dose effects. I don't think the science is going to come up with any definitive answers in the near future, but certainly what we do know and what we do not know can be more clearly expressed. Key missing element, and I mentioned this a minute ago, is the important support element for a difficult individual decision to stay or to go, is a friendly, collective structure, the community spirit. And that's something that I think here in南相馬, from what I can tell, clearly exists and continues to be built and rebuilt. For the evacuees, it's something different. For those who are considering coming back, it's perhaps something different. So it needs to be considered. So there is no community spirit in the evacuees. We'd like more community spirit. So from my standpoint, what came out from the discussion yesterday is here's your shared vision for the future. This is where you would like to go. These are the aspects that are most important to help me make decisions with which you can be happy and which you can build a good future. So to finish, this is a slide that I actually used at the 7th dialogue. I think it's still true. I've learned a lot in these 8 dialogues, and because I've been fortunate enough to attend all of them so far. What makes for a successful recovery effort? And here's the discussion that has emerged from these past 2 days from my standpoint. Active local individuals willing to accept and to take charge of their situation. All of you here are trying to move forward and take charge of your lives. There was someone who said that you need to speak out about your views, your feelings, and your circumstances. I think that's what you're doing here. You're fighting rumors, you're trying to circulate the information you feel is true and share your feelings with your friends. That's what active people taking charge of their own lives are doing. That will help in the recovery. You need the availability of trusted experts, and looking around the room, there are many. I think there are many people who know a lot about the social and physical and chemical aspects of the situation, and they're here to help you. They're also taking charge of things. And you need a human network, good structural support. We talked about that with the society. So I think all of these things you've built, and you're continuing to build and work for it. So I think it's a very positive message that I take from this discussion. A positive attitude helps a lot. And again, I think even the people the other day who were not sure about coming back, they'd evacuated, the lady who had evacuated to Sapporo was deciding whether she would stay, whether she would not. She's built a new life. She's happy there with her children. That's a fine decision for she and her family. And she's turning into a positive attitude. People are not so worried about the radiation anymore. They're worried about life. And they're trying to get their life back. I saw this on a t-shirt. Life is a gift to enjoy, not a problem to be solved. And I think that's where you all are here. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ted, for this view. And now, before to come to an end, I will ask Mr. Eguchi, who is the deputy mayor from南相馬, to say a few words before we close the dialogue.
じゃあ大変遅い時間で一日大変お疲れ様でございました。一番最後に登場させてもらいましたけども、今日一日、昨日は用事で来れなかったものですから、今日一日お話を聞いておりました南相馬市副市長の江口でございます。今最初にあちらの方が取りまとめのレポートを報告されましたし、で今ラーゾさんがきれいなサマリーされたので、私の方で、改めて皆様の考えを混乱するような話はしたくありません。非常に簡潔にお礼を申し上げたいというふうに思います。本当にまず今日参加していただいた皆様、すべての方、そして、このセミナーを企画していただいた今先生や ICRP のジャック含めて関係者の皆様に心から 本音を申し上げたいというふうに思います。私も皆さんの議論を聞きながらいくつか、何を最後に言おうかなというふうに考えていましたけれども、本当に見事にラーゾさんがまとめられたので付け加えることは何もないんですけども、いろんなお話がありました。2回サマリーありましたけども、たくさんあってまとめる方がまとめきれないほどあったわけです。で、私はこの多様性っていうのは本当に大事なんだなというふうに思いました。分断ということも言われましたけども、それほどまでに我々の地域は多様になってますし、でここにこうして座っている方も本当に多様な人が集まっていると。一昔前ならですね、南相馬っていうのは安定した非常に豊かな安定した場所だったかもしれませんけど、この事故っていうのは逆に非常に分断、あるいは多様な一人一人異なる問題を抱えたり多様な状況を生んでいるという中で、今日ここで顔を合わせている我々もその多様なものを構成している一人一人ということで、とにかく我々はこの多様性というのを認め合わなければ始まらないということだと思います。これはもういいことだろうとか、いいことか悪いことかとは別として、この多様になった状況というのを認めなければ、こうでなければならないとか、こうあるべきだということでは進まないんだろうということが、今日の話を聞いていてもよく分かったというふうに思います。で、最後の方にありましたが、できることからいこうという、こういう肯定的な考え方がなければ始まらないということも、大きな集約点の一つかなというふうに思います。私がお話聞きな最後に、フランスの方が多いですから、あれですね、セラビって言いますよね。そこは必要なのかなというふうに思います。市役所のことを申し上げると、今年は1600億円弱にもなるような金額の予算を執行しなければいけません。で、これは南相馬市ぐらいの町ですと、大体200億程度の予算をやってきたのが普通です。それが繰越も、昨年からの繰越も含めて、当座1600億円執行するという予算があって、で参加者の方ももういっぱいいっぱいだと言われたように、市役所もいっぱいいっぱいです。使い切ってます。そして過去最高の1600億円というのが市役所の方に乗った。なので住民の方も市役所の方も市役所もみんながいっぱいいっぱいになっている中で、この地域はまたその課題解決を模索するという状況にあるんだということだと思います。その中でもですね、前向きになるというために、決して敗北主義ということではなくて、そういう悩みもあって、森先生が言いましたけど、悩みもあって生きていくんだ、悩みが解決しなくても生きていくんだっていう、そういう許容するっていう精神は必要で、その精神の中で市役所もできることをやると。市役所もというよりも私も全てできるわけではありませんから、それを認めて自分ができることを楽しんでやると。最後ローズさんが Life is a gift, enjoy ということで、not a problem to solve ということですから、楽しんでやるという心をしながら、でその市役所の1500円いっぱいいっぱいということですけども、少し余裕がなければこういうことを考えようということもならなくて、ここにいらっしゃる方はその少しの余裕があって来ていただけるんだというふうに思います。でそのことをもう少し余裕がある外部の方、そしてフランスも含めて国際的な方がサポートしてきてくれるんだということで、そのことを少し信じて、我々は大変な状況がありますから、いろんな情報をできるだけ発信をして、海外や国内の人と連携できるように、できるだけ素直な気持ちをできるだけ苦手なことですけども積極的にそういうのを表現して、でいろんなサポートを素直に受け止めるとそういうふうなことを考える機会になりましたので、本当に心から感謝をしております。簡単ですけども、市役所を代表して終わりに挨拶といたします。ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Sakurai. I think I have Excuse me. I'm a little bit exhausted after today. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I think I like very much your point on the fact that we talked a lot about the divisions, but the divisions have to be transformed into opportunities. And you talked about positive diversity. And I think life is diverse. Diversity is the salt of the life. You know? Uniformity is boring. Well, my feeling after these 2 days is that we started the first day with speaking a lot about the divisions, about the complexity of the situation, and we moved slowly during the second day to a more positive vision. And my feeling is that I have seen emerge, or I've heard, the desire to move on, to take care about the future, to take care about the children, and even projecting things for 2 decades. There was discussion this morning. I felt that there is now a strong desire from the南相馬people to move. And you want to go out of the concern of radiation, you want to prepare the future, and there was the words of Mrs. Takayama. I found these words very nice. She said, "We want to be the first region to build the future in Japan." I think this is, of course, words from a young person, but to think that we want to be, not only we want to recover, but we want to be ahead of the others is very a nice thinking. Now I'd like to finish by thanking the municipality of南相馬for organizing this, allowing to organize this dialogue in this city. Of course, to thank the mayor, Mr. Mayor Sakurai, and I would like also to thank the organizers, those who have been very instrumental in preparing this dialogue, Mrs. Takamura, and also Mr. Tadano. They worked a lot with Professor Niwa. They worked together to prepare the program, to organize everything. And there are many other people, and I don't want to go to make all the list, all those who have been supporting this dialogue. I'd like also to thank, of course, Mrs. Hirano and Mrs. Machida, our interpreters. They do a wonderful job, already 8 times. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We don't feel any barrier. It's fantastic. So I'd like also to thank all speakers, all panelists, and among them I would like to make a special thank to Mr. Suzuki, because I really appreciated his high-spirited attitude. You know, as we say in French, a bon vivant, un bon vivant. Thank you very much. I'd like also to thank once again the rapporteurs, and also Ted Lazo. Also, I'd like to thank my co-chair, who is very silent, but who is helping me a lot, pointing out this person is running out of time and so on. And then I give him the difficult work is to go and say 3 more minutes. Thank you very much, Ichiro. It's very nice. Okay, so I thank you, all of you, all observers, all those who have participated to this dialogue. I hope that you will have now, as we said, food for thought for many, many weeks and months. And I hope to meet some of you at the next dialogue. We are thinking to have the next dialogue by the end of August, next August. And I hope at the conclusions and recommendations will be ready relatively soon, and they will be put on, as usual, on the website of Ethos in Fukushima, but also on the website of ICRP, the Japanese website of ICRP. Once again, thank you very much to all of you. It was really very intense and very nice 2 days spent all together. Thank you for also for the Norwegian delegation who brought quite a lot. Thank you. Okay, good luck, Minami-sama.